You definitely do. There's some of the different companies out there focus on different pieces of the market. So you have hosting providers out there that really focus on, we call them like the hobbyist audio creators. So it's people who play around with audio. They're probably never going to launch all that many episodes. They're not looking at it with kind of a professional eye. And most of those platforms are free or very, very low cost.
Hey, I'm Allison Hare, and welcome to Culture Changers, the podcast that brings you unconventional wisdom by uncommon people. Together, we are shattering old paradigms to reshape our world and inviting you to make your own mark. Did you know that 31% of podcast listeners listen to 6 or more shows per week, and 14% of that 31% listen to more than 11 shows per week? Wow, that's a lot of shows. I wonder what speed they're listening to on. But how many shows are you subscribed to? I'm really curious to know, and I hope that you'll text me. You can just shoot me a text at 470-242-6311. Again, text me at 470-242-6311. I'd be curious to know how many shows you've subscribed to and what are some of your favorites. Some of my favorites, I love Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. It is so funny, and I always learn a ton too. It's so thought-provoking. Don't Keep Your Day Job is just excellent. It is brand new on my list of things to listen to, but it is so well done. The Commercial Break is hilarious, and Story Brand always bats home runs every episode. And I've been obsessed with Dying for Sex recently. I love to get lost in a drama, and the list goes on and on. I'd be so interested to know what shows I should be listening to. So please text me and let me know. But I just checked my podcast app, and I've subscribed to exactly 40 shows. And it's no secret that podcasting has exploded and has become big business. It is such a great option to listen while you're doing other things. So it is the perfect option to kind of absorb information, whether it's getting lost in a story or learning or being inspired by something else. And with COVID, more people are exercising their creative muscles and getting into the game. And even more people are listening than ever. In fact, there are now 1.2 million podcasts out there. And I wanted to get to the source of what makes a good podcast and how to effectively grow it. So today's guest is Jeanine Wright. Jeanine is the COO and Chief Legal Officer and early investor of Simplecast. I'm going to say that again because I think it's really, really powerful that a female is an executive at a growing company, a very big company, or a growing company. She is the COO, Chief Operating Officer. She is a lawyer and an investor. What a great trifecta. So I want to acknowledge that because I think I love seeing female executives, and especially one that is so accomplished. But Simplecast, so she's the COO, CLO, investor of Simplecast. Simplecast is a podcast hosting and analytics platform that was recently acquired by SiriusXM Pandora. And a podcast hosting platform, if you're not familiar with it, is a central source where creators upload their show and can broadcast it out to all the listening platforms like Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., using an RSS feed and get analytics to be able to track what's happening with their show. Simplecast is known in the marketplace as being incredibly simple to use and is probably the best analytics out there. So good that you can track behaviors like how long people are listening, do they skip through parts or commercials, what speed are they listening to, what platform are they listening to, do they listen on their Apple Watch, do they listen through the web, do they listen on their phone? Where are they listening to it? Are they listening through smart home like Alexa? So you can track all of those things, unique listeners and returning listeners. And if you're thinking, wow, that would be really cool to know, Well, you know I've got a discount code for you in the show notes if you're thinking of starting your podcast or switching to Simplecast, so certainly go there. But Jeanine had so much great tactical and practical guidance on how to set up your show for success, grow your audience, and engage with your community. I know you're going to get so much out of this chat. Now, if this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. And my promise to you is that I will deliver valuable content every single week. Stories that will shift your perspective, culture changers that will draw you in and inspire you, guidance from experts that will help you level up in your own life, and above all, stir you into your own action. And if you are returning to the show, welcome back. I am thrilled to keep this conversation going with you. I have so many goodies for you from this show in the show notes. Are you wanting cut to the chase, step-by-step guidance to successfully launch and grow your podcast? I got you. Interested in figuring out the right equipment? Yep, that's covered too. I frequently post how-tos and perspective shifting guidance in my blog. You can sign up at AllisonHare.com/blog and stay in the know. And maybe you just want to follow my cute kids and snarky comments on social media? Sure. In the show notes. Click everything and let's be friends. Okay, now to my chat with Jeanine Wright of Simplecast. But again, I can't thank you enough, Jeanine, for joining. It's been really interesting because the way I had found you, and we're here with Jeanine Wright, COO and Chief Legal Officer of Simplecast, which is a podcast hosting platform. And what I thought was interesting with you is that when I started podcasting, I started on Simplecast. I loved it. It was so easy to use. And I went to a podcast conference where another hosting provider just had a much bigger presence. And I was like, I wonder if that'll help me. And it had like all kinds of bells and whistles. So I left and it was awful. And it was just not the greatest thing. And then when I was looking to switch again, I posted in the She Podcast. It's a closed Facebook group that is a great, loyal, incredibly supportive resource for female podcasters. And I think I posted something that I'm looking at another hosting provider and here's what I want. And I wanted to, connect with WordPress and all of this stuff. And you had jumped in, the COO of Simplecast, and said, here are some great reasons. Here's a discount code. And then all of these people started following you and saying, that's pretty amazing that the COO herself would jump in and try and solve your problem. And so I did go back to Simplecast, and it's so much better. It's just so easy. The analytics are so simple. And I run this, I have a podcast called Culture Changers, and I also teach podcasting. So I have like an online interactive course. And so for me, it was really important to be able to understand what the market looked like. And I thought, well, let me interview Jeanine. So here you are. So Jeanine, I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Simplecast, and we can dig in. And really the premise for this conversation is to have a better understanding of the podcast industry today and what's next, and maybe some best practices for people that are either in the podcast industry or thinking about starting a podcast. That's a lot. I should probably let you talk.
Sure. No. That's great. And what a great story that is, and so flattering. We should put that on our website.
Anytime.
Yeah. I love having podcasters come home to Simplecast. I love hearing podcasters having a good experience on Simplecast. And I really love engaging with podcasters, all podcasters, not just on our platform, but in particular podcasters who are fans of our platform online. And maybe it's because I have a 6-month-old baby and I spend quite a bit of time, breastfeeding and scrolling through my phone. And so it's an opportunity for me to really connect with our customers during that time when I have the baby on my lap and I can't be on my laptop.
I think what's nuts too is that I was thinking about you, and your year has been insane, that you had a baby, COVID hits immediately following, the world shuts down, and all of a sudden, the podcast world is changing, and then COVID hits, and then Simplecast gets bought out by SiriusXM Pandora. And oh my goodness, this has been an insane year for you.
This has been an insane year for sure. I have two boys that are 7 and 9, and then my daughter was born on Valentine's Day, and so she's just about to be 6 months old. And to have all of those things happen at the same time, and we're in Los Angeles, so the kids are at LAUSD, and then they no longer could go to school, and so then we had kind of the homeschooling that was on top of that, and it was, yes, a crazy convergence of a lot of things happening at once, and really challenged my ability to be able to do everything all at the same time, and reminded me of the importance of deciding really what things need to be done and what things don't need to be done, and how to prioritize.
One of the things I think is so fascinating about you, or something I wanted to acknowledge you on, is that you're a female tech investor and an angel investor, and one of the first investors in Simplecast. And I've done some studies and some homework on Silicon Valley and investors, and it is like 2% of female businesses get invested upon, and so much less for women of color than that. And I want to acknowledge you because I think it's so important to have more females in power that are changing the scales and tipping the scales, of challenging the status quo of what does better look like and what are some ideas. And you're probably pitched a ton. And I'd love to know your origin story to Simplecast and how you were able to understand that this was something worth investing in, and how it's grown from there.
Sure. Yeah. So really, it starts because I was I graduated law school. I went to USC, and like people who graduate law from USC tend to do, I went into entertainment law. And so I worked at a law firm for 6 or 7 years doing talent side entertainment work primarily. And I had this big case that ended up going to trial for a talent agency. And I just had my first baby, and the case was really intense. I mean, one of the toughest periods of my life, of all of the prep work that needed to be done for the case. And besides it being a lot of work, I also had a small baby at home. And so I was trying to balance both of those things. And it was a great opportunity for me because I was able to first chair the trial, and I was still a relatively young lawyer, and that doesn't happen very often. So it was a 2-week jury trial in downtown Los Angeles. I ended up being great. I mean, we won, which was fantastic. And we even got an attorney's fees award, which is pretty rare. And I think everybody at the firm thought, well, that's it. Jeanine has the bug, and she's going to be a lawyer at a law firm for the rest of her career. And I remember thinking that that was an excellent way to close that chapter of my life and move on to the next thing. And really, I mean, to be completely honest, especially because you asked the question about what it's like to be a woman in tech, it was the first time that I realized that I needed to make a decision for my family, not just for my career. My baby was about 1 year old by the time the case ended up going to trial. But in order to go to trial, I made the decision to wean him because it would have been too difficult to continue pumping through the trial. And I didn't think that the judge or the jury would tolerate me taking breaks to pump, and that it would have negatively impacted my client. And so I made that decision, but it bothered me that I felt like my work was influencing what should have been a decision between like me and my baby. And I felt like I needed to find something that was still going to be challenging for me career-wise and stimulating for me, but that also allowed me to be the kind of mother that I wanted to be. And so I started looking, and I felt like the things that I was really enjoying was all of the tech community that was popping in Los Angeles at that time. The like Silicon Beach was just getting started, and there was a lot of buzz around like these new startups happening. And so I started getting involved in like the, Techstars events and the Expert Dojo, and going to these places where a lot of the times I was the only woman in the room, but I was bringing something different to these communities because I was a lawyer. And a lot of people started giving me opportunities to get involved with young companies because I had a legal background and they needed early legal services. So I actually started taking equity from small companies in exchange for doing like startup services for some of these companies. And so that's how I got involved in, at that time, it was just sweat equity investing. It wasn't actual investing. But I started to get involved in that community. And then when I was ready to make a jump with my day job, I looked to the tech community, and I got a job as the general counsel of a tech company called Media Temple, which did hosting and data management and domain names. And so it was like hardcore internet infrastructure. And we had at Media Temple, when I started, I think we had about 215 employees, and I was the 19th woman.
Wow.
So it was, and it was an awakening for me to be certainly like a gender minority there. And then I became pregnant with my second, and that was even more unique for that environment because they hadn't had a woman who had been pregnant at the company yet. And so I was designing the maternity leave policy, and we actually ended up selling Media Temple to GoDaddy while I was pregnant. And we've repeated that here with the sale of Simplecast to Sirius. So my husband jokes that he's supportive of me selling another company sometime in the future, but he's pretty done having kids, and certainly done having kids and selling companies at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So while I was at Media Temple, I was lucky enough to meet Brad Smith, who is the founder of Simplecast. And he had founded a company that was being incubated by Media Temple. And Brad is he's one of those product visionary people. He can see things before they're cool. And I certainly don't have that ability, but I feel like I can recognize it now in the very, very rare people out there who really are product visionaries like that. And so when Brad came to me, it was 5-6 years ago now, and said that he had an idea for a company, and it was in the podcasting space, and he felt like the tools for podcasters were broken, and he knew how to fix them and how to take this like antiquated technology of RSS into the future. He almost could have said anything to me and I would have invested because I believed in Brad. And so I wrote him the first check. It was a very small check, but a check nonetheless. And he sold everything, and he moved to upstate New York, and he hired the first engineer, and they went to work. And then I came in and joined the team full time about 2 years later, when the company was off and running and was just raising their Series A. And it was interesting because at that time I really got the first opportunity to hand in hand go out to market and really raise an early financing round. And to be a woman raising a financing round is very rare. And
I love this.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about our strategy and what was going to be my role in the room and what rooms I needed to be in. And some of my best memories are actually these really tough times of like walking Sand Hill together in San Francisco and trying to figure out what our pitch was going to be and how we were going to convince people to give us more money to let us take Simplecast to the next level. And I was just really lucky to have Brad there, who really saw me as an equal and treated me as an equal and made sure that I always had a seat at the table and a voice in the room. Like I wasn't just there because I checked a box. I was there because he knew that I had things to add, and it was a really tough experience because fundraising is really tough. But it was certainly a bonding experience between me and Brad, and an incredible learning experience for sure.
And now to bring you to 5-6 years later, and Simplecast gets bought out by SiriusXM Pandora. And how exciting that is to grow. I know you guys host Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. It's one of my very favorite podcasts, and
good.
a lot of really big, well-known shows. I think the Anna Faris one as well. I can't remember the name of it. And I think Akimbo might
Unqualified.
Yes. Yeah. You guys really run the spectrum of enormous shows and that can monetize and scale, but also creators and individual creators that can start a show and be able to scale throughout.
You definitely do. There's some of the different companies out there focus on different pieces of the market. So you have hosting providers out there that really focus on we call them like the hobbyist audio creators. So it's people who play around with audio. They're probably never going to launch all that many episodes. They're not looking at it with kind of a professional eye. And most of those platforms are free or very, very low cost. And for us, we are really targeting a different sector of the market. We even call our direct-to-consumer segment of customers, we call them prosumers, because they're really professional consumers. They're willing to invest in the product that they're going to use. They want to make incredibly high quality audio. They're dedicated to figuring out how to really grow an audience. And they're really interested and excited about the analytics, their audience analytics, and leveraging those analytics to figure out how they can both make better content. Like, what does the data tell them that they need to do differently in order to make better content to better connect with their audience and grow their audience? And then how they can use those analytics to most efficiently monetize, if that's what their goal is in podcasting. And so we're proud that we have hosted people like Dax Shepard from day one, the first listener all the way up to millions of listeners that he gets every month. And so we have plans that take people from $15 a month all the way up to major publishers, Netflix of the worlds that are on Simplecast. And it's the big success stories for us are the people who start at the beginning and they build their way through. And it's one of the really beautiful things about podcasting is it's totally equal opportunity. Really, anybody from anywhere in the world can make very high quality content and get it out into the world and find an audience and grow really to limitless potential. And that's one of the things that I find really exciting about the medium.
So I know that you guys really specialize in analytics, and I know that you specifically have done a lot of work, or at least done a lot of PR and media around what those analytics tell you. What is the story that the analytics say today that you're seeing on the back end in terms of podcasting? What's going on? What's the story?
Well, it continues to show that more and more people are listening to podcasts, and that more and more people are listening to more and different kinds of podcasts, that people are consuming podcasts at different times of the day and in different ways, that people are actually listening to and discovering podcasts on the web, not just on mobile devices, that people are starting to see podcasts or listen to podcasts through smart speakers and other connected audio. I think it's really fun to see the technology pieces and how that data is changing, and how we see the numbers climbing and the number of people that are listening, like even via an Apple Watch or, like a home speaker, or how they can connect from a car to a speaker, and continue to listen to their audio dynamically. We're also really interested in what's happening with, we call it the unique listeners. So being able to see not just your overall listening audience number, but really understanding the behavior of the people who are listening to your show. And so what are people's stop starts? What are their skips? What are the speed at which they're listening? Like, what is your stickiness throughout your episode? So how many people are dropping off before the end of your episode? And then being able to see, when you look at your audience on a particular episode, how many of those people listen to your last show? How many of those people are going to listen to your next show? So then thinking about your both your churn, like how many of these unique listeners are you losing, and how many of these people are your super fans, are coming back week after week to consume the content that you have. And so all of those kinds of ways that we can understand the listening audience are really exciting, but it also feels like we're really just scratching the surface of the potential of audience analytics. If you look at online analytics, where like the subscribers, the kinds of information that they have, we're just at the beginning of being able to really understand podcast listening audience behavior, and to be able to provide them with more and more relevant information to them. Like, soon we want to be able to have Netflix-like podcast recommendation engines. We want to make it that the content can be dynamically populated, so that, if you're listening in Baltimore, maybe you get one introduction versus the introduction that you get if you're listening in Los Angeles.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and now that we have been acquired by Sirius and we're partnering with AdsWiz has just the most sophisticated, incredible ad technology out there.
So what does AdsWiz do? I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, so AdsWiz, they're the foremost in audio advertising technology. So they're both, they provide technology both to publishers like the podcasters who are wanting to put advertisements into their podcasts, and they help them with the software that allows them to direct sell their ads, and also provides them with access to a marketplace to be able to find buyers for their remnant ad inventory. And then they provide software and access to the advertisers who are interested in advertising in audio. And Ads was much broader than podcasting. They can do all kinds of audio, but part of the reason why Simplecast was acquired is because of the synergies between Simplecast and AdsWiz, and the potential that we have together for what we can do in the podcasting space. And one of the things that I saw that they're doing the other day is they have a campaign that will run when the weather drops below a certain temperature. And it's like, I don't remember the exact ad, but it's something about like weatherizing your pipes or something like that.
Wow.
So it's like so dynamic that it can really make it so that your content is curated to your experience and is most relevant to you. And it's one of the reasons why advertisers love podcasting, because it's intimate. It is designed for you, and there's this level of trust between you and the host. And so when I endorse or I include in my content, an advertisement, it's not just me pulling something off the shelf that, we'll see if you like it. It's me like curating something that I love and that I want you to try too. And so that's why in podcasting, you see such high, response rates to advertisements and such good, loyalty, feel good connection between the advertiser and the podcast content.
And I'm curious, so I work with a lot of new podcasters, and there are a couple of cornerstones that I think are really, really important for new podcasters um, to really take into consideration, because I just read a statistic that there are now 1.2 million podcasts out there, and only about half of them are active, meaning they have released a podcast in the past 90 days. And there are a couple of reasons, I think, but I wanted to get your opinion on what are some of the best practices or the best advice that you can give new podcasters to get out of the gates running and to do really well, where they don't get burnt out. I think they call it pod fade, but something that would be sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your purpose in podcasting, right? I think your question was, what are some tips that we could share with people from what we see in the data about what helps with a successful launch and what helps
Yes.
with podcasting sustainability? So there's definitely some things that we see. We see people who launch with both a trailer and an episode, at least one episode, and ideally 2 episodes, are more likely to grow their audience more quickly. And we see that is because podcast content consumers tend to be bingers. And so if you only release with 1 episode at the beginning and you don't give them something to go to next, it's like you deprived them of an opportunity to get addicted to you.
Interesting. That was the question I had too about, is some people say, should I throw up 1? Should I throw up 5? Should I throw up 10? Should I do 2? So that's really interesting.
Yeah, so usually we say 2 in a trailer. We find that most people don't give themselves enough runway to get ready. A lot of people don't realize how long it takes to get approved by Apple, how long it takes to get your episode artwork right and your show notes right and all of those things. So I also find that there are people who love making podcasts, but don't love the work that it takes in order to grow a podcast audience or to monetize. So I would really put some time and effort behind what is your growth strategy before you just put some audio out there in the world to try and see what happens. So one thing that we see is that people who have successful launches tend to do better overall, not just because they had, not because they can repeat that, but because they start with the momentum and the momentum carries them through longer. And you can imagine that people who start and don't get very much traction, it can be very discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Like one statistic on our side that I always think is really funny is that when we get new creators, we'll get new creators that'll come in and look at their analytics and we'll refresh sometimes hundreds of times a day to see who is listening, do they like me, did they consume it? They almost get like obsessed with these early analytics. And the more established creators will, log in every once in a while to see how it's doing. But in those early days, you're really, your emotions, the feedback that you're getting as a creator, you can be very sensitive to the way that your audience is listening and engaging with you. And so I would think about what your growth strategy is going to be, what success looks like for you, and, have goals built out to achieve that growth that you're looking to achieve, rather than trying to mark yourself against the Dax Shepherds of the world.
Yeah, I think this is the $1 million question, right? Because when you look on any of the She podcasts or any of the podcasting Facebook groups, the question is, what is a successful launch? What are successful analytics? How do I grow? And again, I know it's different for people, and having that magic combination is hard for people to grasp. And even in my podcast program, I'll tell people try not to put too much into the analytics to begin with. Put on a great show and have a great strategy, know who you're messaging. But in the beginning, consider it for you. Consider it, just have a really great show. I don't know if that's the right advice. It just feels right for me. And for me, because people get so tied up in it. So what have you seen, of all the successful podcasts, especially the ones that start out as an independent creator? What has been the common theme in terms of growth strategy, or has there been a common thread?
Certainly, people who produce regularly, people who are really focused on very high quality content and high quality sound. So consumers will listen to a podcast and they won't like it, and they won't even know why they don't like it. And it's usually because of audio quality. Like they can't identify it, but it's something is not right in their ear, or it bothers them. So there's a lot of people who I think don't invest enough in ensuring that they really have high quality audio and high quality content. The other thing I'll say about like the podcasts that we see that have really healthy linear growth curves is usually we see the people that grow faster are the people who have what we sometimes call pop episodes or gateway episodes. So instead of having just like little by little kind of growth line that looks like you're climbing the side of a hill, the people who grow their audience more quickly are the people whose charts look more like a stair step. And what a lot of them are doing very strategically is they're picking certain episodes to make those episodes exceptional in some way. Like they are putting more sound bites into those episodes. They have a more important, more notable guest in those episodes. They're putting paid promotion or episode swap promotion behind those episodes. And they're really like, instead of thinking about, well, I'm going to market every episode, I got to do this with every episode, which can become, routine and exhausting. They're focusing on one a month or something like that. And those episodes then we call them gateway episodes, because they become discoverability episodes for your audience for the rest of your podcast. So people will discover you for that episode, but then they like you, and then they will go back and listen to the rest of your catalog, and then they will subscribe to your future episodes or come back for your future episodes. And the people who are using this like stair step pop strategy, they tend to grow more quickly overall and have bigger audiences overall than the people who have this kind of linear, like, I just got to get in there and do the same 3 things that I do every week for marketing.
That is amazing. That is the perfect answer to that too, because I think people try and figure out the marketing and the branding. And because it's so specific to your show, which can be different. It could be genre specific. It could be, so many different factors. So that was a perfect answer.
I think it's kind of like the analogy of like when you train yourself to run faster, sometimes you have to sprint, right? In order to shake it up or do something different, or like teach your body to do something different. But if you just go out and do the same run at the same pace every week, you're going to get healthy, get faster, slower.
Well, thank you so much, Jeanine.
Yeah, very nice talking to you too. Thank you.
Are you ready to get your voice out into the world after that conversation? One of my main goals is to elevate voices that have a message that matters. So if you want company to help you launch and grow your podcast, go to AllisonHare.com/press play and sign up to get more info. Everything is in the show notes. I also hope you'll subscribe to this show, and please take a moment to leave a review. It means so much to me, as that it helps me shape the future shows with your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.